Welcome.
Welcome,
Every
welcome.
week we are going to discuss a topic that myself or Freeman feels that our audience will benefit from hearing about. Today's topic is a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So I think for me personally, on any kind of journey of improvement, the first thing that kind of needs to be tackled is the mindset. I feel like, the whole concept of unplug is to unplug from society norms. So, a lot of people are kind of plugged in. They've kind of, lived a certain way, told they have to do certain things, told they have to live their life a certain way, maybe told they got to go to school, college, university. So you're kind of plugged into kind of what you've been told. So you've got kind of a fixed mindset. Kind of wanted to delve into that a little bit deeper today. Obviously a growth mindset, we're going to go and explain what that means, kind of, how we, use that kind of growth mindset to evolve ourselves. Kind of chop that up.
Okay, cool. Let's get straight to it.
Let's get straight to it. So fixed mindset is basically someone who I would say is kind of set in their ways. They're kind of closed off to most things. They don't like coming out of their comfort zone. They just, this is me. They've accepted this is me. I'm not going to change. I don't want to do anything else. And I've kind of like decided this is the life I'm going to live. And that's pretty much it. That could be someone who, just has a job, might not even be happy in their job, but has just decided, I'm comfortable. This is me. I kind of make decent money and I'm happy to retire when I'm 95. Do you know what I mean? So, and again, I don't want to.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with a fixed mindset, but it's more you're closed off to new ideas, new opportunities, and things like that. So, and then you have obviously someone like a growth mindset who is kind of more open-minded. They're not set in their ways. They're open to hear new ideas. They're open to try new things. They want more from life. They haven't accepted life for what it is. They've realized you can be whoever you want to be. The world is your oyster. And that's such a cliche, but anything is possible.
100%. But then, kind of playing that devil's advocate. Some people may say that having a fixed mindset, from the perspective of like I'm just like siloed. Like right now, I'm just tunnel vision. Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. Nothing else is kind of coming in to kind of penetrate that. So I'm on a fixed mindset. I'm on a fixed goal right now. So could you not potentially, some people may have the outlook that, okay, cool, fixed mindset can be applied to certain circumstances? Or would you say like...
When I say fixed mindset, I'm more talking about, like I said, someone who probably doesn't even believe in personal development and growth. Like, to them, it's not even on their radar. Like, they've got their career. This is my career. And I'm now just, like I said, I'm ready to just
die
pretty much in this job. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm getting a retirement present. Like, by the time I'm 65. No, that's kind of, you've kind of, like I said at the beginning, you're kind of set in your ways. Like I said, you don't really feel like you want to grow. You can't be bothered to grow. You've become comfortable is where I'm going with this. You've become mad comfortable. And like we know in life, like getting comfortable is...
complacencies.
You know what I mean? So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. It was just more to kind of like battle it because, some people can have that sort of outlook, but like I do think, like you said, like, it's just the sort of self-development route makes sense. But now on the growth mindset aspect, like, how can this be attainable? How do you go from being fixed in your mindset to now all of a sudden having a growth mindset? Is that overnight?
No, definitely not. But I think I said it earlier. I feel like you have to get to a place in your life where you're like, enough's enough. Enough's enough. Like, you have to kind of have that light bulb moment where you think, do you know what? This isn't it. I've had enough. I'm tired of my manager talking to me like I'm
some
shit.
Idiot.
Like, I'm tired of that 2-hour commute to work. I'm tired of never having enough money because this job doesn't pay enough, but I can't be bothered to go and get another job somewhere else or look for other opportunities to make more money. Like, you have to get to a place where I'm now fed up.
Yeah.
Like I now need to do something because I'm slowly dying a slow death. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I'm at. And I feel only when you get to that point do you now realize, okay, cool, I need to do something. So a light bulb switches on, right?
Yeah.
So when you get to that point, it's like, cool, what can I do? So at that point, you're now like, you're prepared to try new things. You're prepared to kind of stick your neck out and kind of see what's going on. You're now on a journey of like, I call it the 3 S's, like self-discovery, soul-searching, self-awareness. And that happened to me. Like that happened to me like, well, it's happened to me a few times, but like I feel like this time I'm ready. Do you know what I mean? But
I'm
yeah,
with
it
you, I'm
happened
with
to me
you.
like a couple of years ago where I was looking at my life and it just wasn't it, man. It was just like I was doing certain things that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. I'm like, nah, there's got to be more to life than this.
100%.
And you're looking around and you're on social media and you're seeing like, you know, people doing well.
Extremely well.
Do you know what I mean? It's like at first you think to yourself, is this real? Like, is this all these people online? Surely, like all these people can't be doing well. Nah, they're doing well.
Yeah.
There's people who have got to a place and they're like, yeah, I'm ready to grow now. I'm ready to go to the next level. And I think, yeah, like I said, getting to that point where you realize, shit, I need to change.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of starts. And then you're open now, you're letting things in. Whereas if you don't see a problem with your life, you're never going to open up and let things in. And I think a lot of people don't see a problem with their life.
100%. 100%. And again, like we said earlier, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. So when would you say for yourself, and I think it would be good for like the audience to kind of know this as well, so they can kind of relate personally as well. When also, I know you said it happened a few times, but like perhaps the most recent one, or even in your first one, where was like the first like light bulb moment? And what did you kind of do to change your mindset from being fixed to growth? And how long was that journey? And what did you have to change in your lifestyle and you as a person, basically?
Yeah. So I'll talk about my most recent experience and how I've got where I am now. Where, like I said, you know, I run my own business. Yeah, like I said, probably 2021 rather, I should say. I was going through a real low period of my life. You know, I was in a job that I hated. I was stressed out. I wasn't a nice person, to be honest with you. And I just sat there one day and I looked out the window and I was just like, I can't expect, you know, outside to change. I need to change what's inside. Like, let me not. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Like they look outside and they hope that things will change outside and it will change their life. But you know, you got to realize within yourself that in order for outside to change, you need to change inside. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, cool, how do I change inside? And from a young age, I was really into like personal development. One of the books that I read, and a lot of people know about it, which kind of changed my life, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I felt stuck. So at that point when I felt stuck, I was like, always kind of look like success leaves clues, right? So I had to look at my life and I was like, where have I been successful in my life? And it was kind of like property. Like, at quite a young age, I was fortunate enough to be able to buy my own property. So I was like, cool, I want to get into property, etc., etc. So it kind of stirred, like we all have wins in our life. Like everybody at some stage in their life has been successful in something or done well in something. So it kind of forced me to go down that route. And yeah, like I said, it was a very much soul search. It was like, cool, I need to do something. And then I just kind of went online. I was like, yeah, I needed to be inspired. I needed some inspiration. And I was online just looking and I saw an opportunity online, kind of invested some time, some money into it and just worked hard, man. Worked at it every day, stayed disciplined, you have to develop certain habits, certain traits if you kind of want to grow. So I had to just really work on myself, destroy and rebuild. That was pretty much it, man.
Okay. That's interesting, bro. I feel like for me, my real switch, I feel like I've always been like very like hard on myself. I've always wanted a lot more. And naturally, if like you're an ambitious person, like that's something that comes quite standard. But I suppose for me, like I just didn't always have like a goal. I didn't have a goal, or a plan, more specifically. I knew I just kind of wanted to make money, but like that was it. Like anytime you ever listen to like a rich, successful person, like the money, the status and the wealth is always sort of like a byproduct of everything, of everything. Like they had a plan to achieve that goal. And I think for me, it's sort of when I left college, like I've always been a guy, like all my friends will tell you, like Freeman always had like 100 jobs at a time. I was working at least minimum, any given point in time, at least 3 to 4 jobs, minimum. Like working myself like a dog, just draining myself, saving, not even necessarily knowing what to do with the money, not having like
Why though? Why?
I don't know, actually. I feel like I've always been like a hard worker. And I've always worked hard and not smart. Earlier on anyway. I've always worked hard and not smart, and I was sort of like robotically just sort of working for the sake of working with no plan.
For our audience, what does work hard and not work smart mean?
So working hard is, going the long way route, in my perception, and working smart is sort of going direct or utilizing resources or people to get to your destination quicker or more efficiently. And for me, for instance, like I wanted to make money. So I wanted to make money, so I worked. My first job was at KFC. I worked at KFC, then I worked at Poundland, then I worked at a phone shop, and I did delivery, all at the same time. And that was just to get money. But really and truly, for me to work smart, I should have invested and learned a high-paying and rewarding skill that would have remunerated me to a high standard, so I can spend less time on working 4 jobs and just working on 1 job.
So why didn't you?
I didn't have that knowledge.
Okay.
I didn't have that knowledge. Okay. I didn't have anyone, a mentor, someone to kind of look up to. Like even like my parents, not even like digging them down. Like my parents are like very hardworking individuals. Like the migrants. I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Europe. I was born in Ireland. But my parents came from Nigeria, and obviously the whole sort of like struggle story and etc. I'm not going to bore you with that. But that's all I've had. I've never knew any entrepreneurs. I never knew anyone that was smart, that built processes and I didn't even know what self-development was. Like I feel like self-development, sure, that's like what you go to the doctors for if you're sick. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about, like mental development? Like, what the hell? Shut up, man.
What is that?
What is that? Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, I've always known to just work hard, get my hands dirty. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I think that's quite an interesting point, because I feel like you are who you surround yourself with, right? So obviously, a lot of our parents are not entrepreneurs, self-developers, so you naturally kind of take on their characteristics,
100%.
their habits, their traits, all of that type of stuff. So that's quite an interesting point, that I've got a thing, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And I think that was the case for me. And it wasn't, like you said, until I started reaching out and branching out in terms of my network of people. Because like you said, you are who you surround yourself around, right? And who I was around were pretty much kind of doing what I was doing, and I didn't get that knowledge. But then as I started being a bit more inquisitive and curious and understand, like, there must be more. And obviously social media has a big pop. Obviously you still got to take with a pinch of salt. Like obviously you have these people just driving these crazy cars, living these crazy lifestyles in these fat houses. I'm thinking, how the hell are you the same age as me and doing this?
Start asking yourself, is this even real?
Do you see what I'm saying? Are we in a simulation? Like, is life real? Like, what is this? And the real sort of light bulb moment for me is like, they know something that I don't know, right? And the cost and the value of knowing what they know that I don't know is in the position that they're in right now. So it's almost like you said, I was kind of like soul searching, being more aware, and to kind of wrap it up. So the reason why I also fell into properties, like I remember, I'll never forget, again, when I first came to this country, it sounded like a professional when I sounded, but when I first came to this country, my mum would give me and my brother like a couple quid, and we'd play table tennis at like a local leisure centre. And there's 2 like white guys, and it's like 2010, 11, it's like they were in like Ralph Lauren, like polo, like tennis outfits. I'm thinking, flipping out, like, these guys just look like money. You know what I mean? And I was overhearing a conversation, and the guy was like, I think the guy's name was like Bob Dan or something like that. He's like, Bob, mate, in the UK, if you got 3 properties, you're okay. If you got 4, 5 properties, maybe even 6, you're minted. 7, 8, 9, you've got a really good life, mate. And you're not even a millionaire. And that for me, I was like, what? So you can get involved in property, You can have a couple properties, and you're not even a millionaire. Because for me, like especially at a young age, for me to be successful to whatever I want, I need to be a millionaire. Like literally, I need to have M's in my bank account. And that's obviously, as we know, that's not the case. Like we both run very successful 6-figure businesses, you know. And although yet we've not reached that millionaire status, but like, we live like very, very, very like, you know, nice lifestyles. You know what I mean? We can do what we want, go on a holiday, travel, work from whenever, etc., etc., etc. And that's for me was like the sort of the light bulb moment. Like, okay, cool, property is the thing for me. And then I found creative ways to obviously get into property with, you know, sort of like no capital and etc. And just again networking with people, finding like LinkedIn, finding people who have done it. How have you done it? Learning from them, like sweat equity, exchanging like my time for your experience and your knowledge to sort of get to where I've been now. So that was kind of like the growth mind moment for me, because I'm like, bro, like man can't be working 4 jobs. This surely isn't the way, man.
It's not the way.
This isn't the way. There has to be a smart way.
But the funny thing is, it's the way that your parents knew, and they kind of passed that down onto you. Like I feel like my parents as well, immigrants, like from Jamaica, very hard working. Like for them, you got things by working hard. Obviously, nowadays it's still true, stands true to time that you have to work hard, but there are now ways to work smarter. So, you know, you don't have to have 3 jobs to make money now. You can have a job, save your money for a job, and invest in, I don't know, an Airbnb property.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That can bring you in decent money, right? Yeah. I'm going to go back a little bit, because I just remembered kind of where my journey began from kind of like a fixed mindset. I think for me, when I was about 18, which is a very, very long time ago, I remember leaving college and being like, I am done with like this institutionalized like education. Like sat in a classroom learning. Like I'd been in primary school 5 years, secondary school 5 years, just done 12 years of sat in a classroom, really being taught stuff that
never really gonna
use, right? And I remember leaving college and thinking, like, I always had a passion and interest in business. It was just something about like making money. And like I was one of those guys that in school,
the sweets,
selling sweets,
standard,
ordering pizzas and selling it, because we weren't allowed to go out at school. Like that type of guy. So I was always like a bit of a hustler. Like I sold certain people their first mobile phone. I was a bit of a wheeler and dealer. So I always had like an interest in like just making money. Not even like I want money, but just I liked.
There's like a dopamine effect. It's like thrill
of like supplying something and getting something back in return, right? So I remember leaving college, and obviously mum's like, you can't just like, you need to go uni. I'm like, I don't want to go to uni, and I'm not against uni, but I just knew there's no way I'm now gonna sit in lectures for another 3 years. I was done with like that structured learning, right? So I had to go and get a job. I went and got a job in like Santander, got fired.
How'd you get
I'm
fired?
not gonna explain.
Cool, If you guys want to know, make sure you comment on that. Let's know how John got fired.
I'm not gonna say why I got fired, but I got fired, and it was like, all right, cool. And then I remember one of my friends, we were really young at the time, 18, 19. He got a job working for London Underground. And back then, like they were like, I think it was like a customer service, like
on the desk, like on the desk thing.
No, people who stand at like the barriers and just like, good morning everyone.
Okay.
And I went for a job there and I got it. And it was like 26 grand, like 18, 19, that's a lot of money, right? Of
course, bro. That's a lot of money, man.
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. So, but then at the same time, a friend of mine approached me and he's like, I've got this business opportunity. And I was like, really? And so he explained the business opportunity. He was like, us setting up our own like publishing company. We was going to bring out our own magazine. So I was like, 26 grand, unknown. 26 grand, unknown. And in my mind, I'm like, YOLO. Do you get me? So at that point, I'm like, you know what? Forget this job, innit? Let's go and do this thing. And
but sorry to interrupt, but what made you at 18 years old? Because like that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? And not to be out your age, you're a bit older than me. So 18, 26 grand at that time, that's a lot of money. You can do a lot. So what made you kind of choose that unknown? Like what made you take that leap?
I think there's a couple of things. My friend who came to the me with the opportunity. He was very persuasive.
Okay.
So he sold me it.
Okay.
That was one. But then I also thought, is that really the life that I want to go and do? Like, you know, I'm not discrediting anyone who works for the London Underground, but I think for me at 18, I still got my whole life ahead of me.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I got no responsibilities, like, try, innit? And I think that's something that we really want to get across. Like, you have to try,
Yeah.
bruv. You have to try. If you don't try, like, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
100%.
So I was like, you know what, bro, let's do this, innit? And it ended up being one of the best experiences for my life. And I think where I'm going with this is that if I did go down the job route, I would have easily developed a fixed mindset, right?
100%.
Built up a career, probably ended up, you know, getting promotion in the London Underground, probably gone on to, you know, become a train driver. Again, I'm not against it, but I think for me, I just wanted a bit more. And I always felt like, you know, my parents always told me, while you're young, like, just try stuff, right? So in kind of going left instead of going right, it forced me to kind of level up and like develop this growth mindset. So I was reading. This is where I kind of first started learning about like high income skills, learning how to sell and things like that. So in kind of choosing that path, like I said, it opened me up to having a growth mindset. Because like we know, when you're running your own business, you're only as good as what you know, right?
Of course.
So that's kind of, where my growth mindset started.
Okay.
And from then it was kind of like, you know, you're reading that book, you kind of, you kind of get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you're fascinated. And like I said, I always loved reading. Like from a young age, I could sit in a corner and just read. Like from a really, really young, I was always good at reading, I was always good at English, and I just like reading, and it kind of helped my creativity and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where the growth mindset started, man.
Mad.
I mean, I think for me, kind of where I'm going with this topic is that I want to kind of highlight what can happen if you don't develop a growth mindset and the benefits of having a growth mindset. So I think for me, you know, if you don't develop a growth mindset, you just kind of, you just let time pass you by. You're like, I know people laugh because a lot of people don't like Tate.
Yeah.
He talks about the Matrix a lot. And I think for me, it's a real thing. Like when you're in the Matrix, you're kind of just
locked in.
You're on like a hamster wheel. Like
just right.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Repetition.
And you're not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you're moving, but you're not going nowhere, right? And I think if you don't develop that growth mindset, in my opinion, like, you're not being your better version of yourself. And I always feel like there could be an afterlife in it. I don't know in it.
Okay.
But I feel like, why not be the best person you can?
Yeah,
right?
whilst you're on
like,
this earth.
why not? Like, because ultimately, when you know, about to take your last, but you're gonna look in your life, right, and look about the things you did, and then you're also gonna think about the things you didn't do. So you kind of want to leave with no regrets. You know. So I think for me personally, that's why you know, kind of not developing that mindset could be a con. I don't know what your thoughts on.
No, I'm with you on that. I definitely think like whilst we're on this earth, let's like try to experiment and explore. I feel like for me it was very hard to really get this growth mindset because again, more my parents like very fearful, being grateful for what you have. Like again, I was on the same mantra. Like I didn't want to go to university because I kind of did the maths. I was like, bruv, if man goes to university, I spent like 3 years faffing about, probably doing things I shouldn't really be doing. And then I'm going to be looking for a grad role, probably paying 25, 26 grand. But I reckon if I did an apprenticeship or just worked, I'd have a lot of that experience. And I reckon that companies would value that experience. And I didn't want to be a doctor or lawyer. I just want to do business management, like very basic, you know what I mean? But again, not knocking anyone that went to uni, obviously. But that was kind of like my perspective. And I kid you not, I had to do like a presentation. So I'm Nigerian parents. So I need not say any more. So I had to do literally a presentation to my mum and my dad and be like, this is why I don't want to go to university because X, Y, and Z. And obviously, you know, the rest is the rest. But I think it was very hard because even when I was in an apprenticeship and I was learning, I still kind of got stuck. It's like, I was project manager for a wealth management company. I was doing project management, shall I say. And there's like a very, very clear, like sort of corporate ladder. Because the known is easy. It's safe. It's secure. But like yourself, like it's like the known or the unknown. It's very scary. It's very risky. But then it took me a very long time of like just being battered and bruised, like just all working the 9 to 5 to realize there's more to this.
Yeah, this is not.
There's more to this. So I wasn't. I feel like naturally, like I'm naturally like a bit of a warrior as well. Like naturally, like it took me a long time to come out of that mentality, but naturally I'm a warrior. I like to know what's happening. I like fixed stuff. That obviously plays very hand in hand with like my fixed mentality or my fixed mindset. So it took me just being battered and bruised and tired of like knowing like this isn't for me. There's more. And then that's when I kind of sort of shaped and like veered off into the unknown.
Yeah.
And then again, like I was like, I'm young, no kids, no mortgage, no
Best
like
time to do it.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I end up exactly where I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Back at zero, but you start again. But
Exactly.
this time you're starting with more experience. Like you've gone to war.
So I'm saying.
Like, but you're stronger now.
So I'm saying.
What don't kill you only makes you
You're
stronger.
stronger.
You said something earlier, and I laugh about like coming from Nigerian parents because I remember when I told my mum that I wasn't gonna take this job, and I was gonna start up a magazine, like in a Jamaican accent. She's like, magazine? What do you mean magazine? You better go and take that job. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And funny enough, the magazine became quite successful. Like I was in like newspapers and we won awards. And I remember her like taking the newspapers, going into work. This is my son.
Yeah.
And I was like, you told me not to do no magazine.
He wasn't feeling the vibe.
Yeah, and where I'm going with is sometimes people just can't see your vision.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you kind of just got a goal. And I think that kind of leads, that's probably something else we can discuss in another episode. Like, be careful who you take advice from. So important. Like, people are taking advice from people who are not where they want to be or haven't achieved what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think like if you want to achieve certain things, who's best to take advice from?
Someone
who's done it, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I think for me, I also had to still have a certain level of respect for my parents.
Of course.
If I'm honest with you, I look back, if anyone was to ask me like who was my biggest inspiration, it'd be them. Like they truly inspired me to be the person I am today for the mere fact that they came here in the 60s with absolutely nothing. My mum's got a story. She's like, I had one pair of knickers and I had to wash that pair of knickers every day. And I laugh, it's so funny. But that was her story. But she's gone on to like, my mum, you know, successful in her own right. She's got her own property portfolio. And I'm like, my thing growing up was, I'm not being funny, if you can come here with nothing and achieve that, what am I capable of with the foundations that you've laid, right?
Of course.
So that always inspired me, that always pushed me, and I was like, nah, I gotta do better, I must do better, you know? It's like, and parents always want their kids to do better than them. So that's kind of,
And that's really good. And I think another thing as well, I just want to be like always mindful of is like, again, let's probably give the people like a plan. So like maybe let's say in 3 steps. So you've identified like you're this character of like, I've got a fixed mindset, or I'm in a job, or I'm in a situation. Like it could even apply to like relationships. It can even apply to family. Like I'm in the situation, in the circumstance right now of, I know there's more potential for me. So what practical advice do you think, and we can collaborate this obviously together, like what practical advice do you think that we can give to people? Like 3-4 steps to kind of like slowly unwind from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. I'll probably go first, or I'll lead with this. I think the first step is identification. Understanding that you're stuck. Understanding that you've seen that ceiling now and realizing that there is more. Because I think that's like the first thing. Like, again, like for me, like I didn't know. Like we didn't know about personal development. We didn't know about networking. We didn't know. So obviously, like you don't know what you don't know, right? So I think like the first step is realizing it and understanding, okay, cool, you're currently living a limited life, limiting opportunities, limiting like the best life and version of yourself that you can be. I think that's probably like the first step.
I think the first step for me is listen to that voice in your head. So I read a statistic the other day and it was like 99% of people are not happy in what they're doing, right? But they ignore that. So I feel like your mind, your body gives you clues of when something ain't right. Yeah, like it gives you clues when something ain't right. And I feel like everybody has probably had that feeling where like, this ain't for me, but they ignore it. But that is your subconscious mind telling you like you're better than this. you can do more. So paying attention and listening to that voice, and if you can let that voice kind of lead, then yes, it kickstarts like the openness. I'm now open to seeing what else is out there.
Yeah.
Like you naturally have an instinct that tells you when something's right or wrong. Like I don't know, you call it your subconscious, you call it your
third eye.
Yeah, third eye.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like pay attention. And I think the moment I started paying attention to that is when my life changed. So I think for me, that would be step one.
Cool. Now, step two, I think for me is, now that you've realized where you are, I think the next thing is to research. To research where you think you can be. Because I even think like there's like, it's a glass ceiling, like it's endless. Like there's a lot more potential, even like for us, like some people could look at us and say, oh, you guys have done it. You guys are, well, you got successful businesses, but there's always more. So I think research what's the next step for yourself, and also research and look for people who are where you want to be. Because then you can seek realistic advice. And also you said something very clever, like being mindful of who you take advice from. And who you take, like, you know, not all opinions are necessarily valid. They can be appreciated, but they don't necessarily always need to be acted upon. So if you're, even if we're talking corporately, like if you're in a job and you're in a position in your job and you want to be a manager, or you want to be an area, or your CEO or whatever, or head of department, go on LinkedIn, find, you know, like I know for me, like when I was like going in that sort of project manager, I was looking at senior program managers and project managers. And I would just DM them on LinkedIn. So I know DMs on LinkedIn, if that's the real thing. But like I'll say like, hi mate, you know, I've seen that you've been working at this for such. I'm currently a junior project manager or project coordinator. I want to know what steps you took or have taken to experience this. Is it right if we go, obviously I worked in the city at the time, is it right if we can go for a quick lunch break? I'll take you out for a coffee or a bit of lunch and we get a bite to eat. And like you said, you'd be so surprised how much people just want to share. You'd be so surprised that people want to share their life experiences, it's also an opportunity for you to work smart, as opposed to working hard and just trying to like figure out by yourself. Exactly. So now they can sort of give you the blueprint. It's like, okay, cool. Like I did this and did that. I kind of messed up, but I think you should do this. This would be a lot smarter. Do this course, take this exam, etc., etc. So
I shorten the journey.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
Exactly. Shorten the journey, and it's almost like a waterfall effect, because now when someone more junior to you without this experience will come to you and be like, yeah, I went to this person, but again, I found an even shorter route, or I even did this. And the route just gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter as you pass it on to kids, friends, families, and etc. So I think in short for me is identifying somewhere where you want to be and then finding someone that is there or slightly ahead, and then networking and communicating and seeking advice.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the second point would be figure out what you want from life. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I call it your North Star. Like the minute you kind of set like or think about who you want to be and what type of life you want to have, it gives your life some direction. So then you now got to figure out, how do I get there? So if I say to myself, you know, I want to be financially free. Financially free is a big thing, right? It's a buzzword.
Yeah, it's
like
hot right now.
Everybody talks about being financially free. Cool. All right, what does that look like? How do I become financially free? So I feel like you need to figure out what you want first, and then once you figure out, I like to reverse engineer everything. So I always like to work backwards. So I think this is what I want. All right, cool. What are the steps to get to where I want? So an example of that is obviously, you know, I wanted to become financially free, and I looked at, I call it a vessel. Like, what vessel could I use to become financially free? And at the time, it was like property is a big thing. You know, I think there's a statistic that 90% of millionaires are in property. So it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna jump on property.
I mean, you can't argue the facts.
But again, which I'll get to probably later, is that you can't just do what's hot. You got to kind of do what you're interested in, or what you're passionate about. You know, otherwise you kind of tail off and you kind of lose interest. So yeah, just kind of going back to what I said, I think number 2 point for me is figure out what you want, and then start to like figure out how do you get there. And a lot of the time, what you want, someone else has already achieved,
of course,
or someone else is already there. So you just study that person. Like I watched something about 6 months ago, and it was a video, and it was like a guy writing on a board, and he wrote 50,000.
Oh yeah, I think this one, yeah.
And then he wrote 1,000,000. And he was talking to a woman, and he was like, the difference between like you earn 50,000 a year now, and you want to earn 1,000,000. The difference between the 50,000 and 1,000,000 is what you don't know. So you lack knowledge of that 950,000. So it's kind of like the knowledge is there, because there are people who are where you want to be. So you literally have to learn what these people have learned. Because I always thought to myself, how do you get there? You know, again, you know, to some people, self-development is what is self-development. Never heard of it, like, but self-development is literally kind of how you get from where you are to where you want to be. So yeah, that would be my step 2.
No, cool. And I think the third step, I think for me, would just be planning. Like I mentioned earlier, I was working 4 jobs with no plan of action, no goal. Again, just the goal loosely was to make money, but no plan. So I think, cool, once you've identified you're in the situation, and then once you sort of research and, like you said, studied the individuals or the people or the topic of where you want to be and how you want to get there, I think you need a clear plan and structure of the steps that you will need to take to achieve this. So if this means sort of like rejigging your whole life and having, and like you organize yourself, maybe like, you know, you're a mom, you're a single dad or whatever, and it means that, cool, you're getting up a couple hours earlier and you're just on the laptop researching. You got a little diary. You do your, you know, you're waking up about 6:30, half an hour before you have to leave, you know, with your coffee, with your drink or whatever, and you're doing a bit of research and you're studying, you're following your plan in terms of, okay, cool, I'm gonna spend half an hour. Like for me, what I did in the morning, I spent 15 minutes on LinkedIn finding project managers who are working in finance. And then I'll craft a templated message to send to all of them to say, hey, Bob, see that you're in finance, doing project management. I really appreciate it. I'm young and I want to do exactly what you're doing. Do you mind, you know, me sort of picking your brains for a couple of minutes? You know, set yourself some clear, like, I'm sure a lot of people would heard of like SMART objectives, you know, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So set yourself some SMART objectives and make it realistic and not too long, right? So it's like still achievable because you still want those small wins to feel like you're doing something.
Right? And small wins build confidence.
Exactly. So set yourself some SMART goals. Just create yourself like even like a 3-month plan. It's okay, cool. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to reach out to these people. We're going to have a conversation and then build on from that and just make more plans. And then once you checkbox your plan for the first quarter, then you work on the next quarter. And then you sort of look back and you're like, flipping out. I've actually grown. I've actually grown. And that gratification will just be like a monopoly effect and it's just compounding. So I think that would be like the first step for me is like create a clear, realistic plan, small, short plan for you to then achieve and then work on continuously. And then as you achieve the tasks or the objectives within the plan, you then create a new plan and then so on and so forth.
I think for me, going back to what you said, especially with the business that I have now, I didn't have any experience in it. So I couldn't really create a plan. So I'm like, who's got the plan? Like there are people out there that have already made blueprints.
Yes.
So for me, it was like, I'm not even going to try and reinvent the wheel. And I think that's why I've been able to be successful in this business because I didn't try and reinvent the wheel. And I think I've had previous business in the past. You know, I've been in business since I was like 18, 19 years old. And they failed. And I look back and I think, why did they fail? And I felt like, because I tried to reinvent the wheel. I tried to like do stuff that had never been done before. Whereas I've learned that if you want to be successful, follow successful people. Do what they say or follow what they say, do what they tell you to do. So I think for me, my third would be objective is to find someone who, like I said, is doing what you want to do and invest in learning from that person. So like a mentor.
Yes.
Like a mentor can fast track your success.
Massively.
Tenfold.
Massively.
And I never had a mentor per se. And these days, you can pretty much, with the internet, you can learn how to do anything.
Literally.
Like you can buy a course on productivity to become a more productive person. You can buy a course on how to invest in crypto. Like there's so many, and what these courses do, a lot of people think, you know, and I used to be like this. I used to think, you hear a course, you think, this is a scam. But And don't get me wrong, there are people out there who do scam, but you
Yeah.
have to do your due diligence, right?
Of
You're
course.
not going to invest in something
just blindly.
without doing your homework. And I've been burnt before
Yeah,
where
same.
I've bought courses and I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah.
So you have to do your due diligence. But where I'm going with this is that I just feel, you can fast track. And you can fast track by, like I said, investing in a course that lays the blueprint for you. You know, lays the plan for you. And that's what I think kind of catapulted my business, that I invested in a mentor and they just speeded up the process. They helped lay the plan. I didn't have to think about the plan too much myself. Like we put it together. Like they prevented me from
just
going left.
Yeah.
And was like, no, that's not the way to do it. This is the way to do it. So I think, find someone who is doing what you want to do or is where you want to be and just learn from that person. Follow their plan, follow their blueprint.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think that's really good. I think it was good that we just discussed the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset, and we both gave our sort of personal experiences of how we kind of developed from one to the other, and gave sort of 3 practical steps from both our perspectives of how you can achieve this. But I think you said you wanted to obviously give the people something as well.
Yeah, I feel like, again, like I said before, be careful where you get advice from. So, you know, there are obviously successful people out there already. They kind of like, you know, have quotes, they have advice, they promote themselves on social media. So my question to you was, what's the best advice that you've ever received, or the advice that kind of inspired you the most?
I think it's more, I get a lot of, you know, again, we talk about advice, but there's a lot of advice, but probably the most recent one for me, and it's funny, I think came from you, actually. It came from you. And it was, don't compare someone's step 100 with your step 2 or 3. And that was like a big thing for me, especially when I was a lot younger. I was always thinking like, flipping out. This guy's like 20, this guy's like 24, 25. Like, he's done it all. He's done it all. He's got 10 hours. He's got all of this. Like, what am I'm emptying my pockets. Like, what have I got? You know what I mean? Like, this is stupid. This is silly. But then you don't know everyone's journey. You don't know what he's had. You don't know the foundations he had. You don't know if that's been given to him, that's been gifted to him, or you don't know if he just had a crazy, insane story. Or maybe I'm not just working smart enough or hard enough. So that for me allowed me to find peace within myself and allow me to just be steady and focus and just work on my own journey and my own vision and my own purpose. And I don't care if you're 5 years younger than me, 10 years younger than me, and you've got 10x what I've got. I'm just focused on my journey and on my journey alone. And that was very rewarding in itself, and it gave me a lot of clarity and a lot of purpose, and I wasn't too focused on what other people are doing and seeing and etc. And if I was focused on other people, it was from an insightful perspective for knowledge to gain more. But yeah, that was like the more recent bit of advice for me. What about you?
So one of my, I'm very obviously launching a personal development project. I'm very much into, I feel like in my old age, I'm becoming very philosophical. So one of the biggest philosophers that I follow, I listen to pretty much daily, read pretty much all of his books, is a guy called Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
I listen to Jim Rohn daily, and one of the most profoundest things I've ever heard in my life, and even thinking about it now sends shivers down my spine. Like, he said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That changed my life. And it was like, and I even think back then, I didn't even fully understand it the way I do now. Like, obviously, in order to be successful, whatever success means to you, you have to do certain things, right? We all have jobs, whatever. We need to, work on ourselves, and we all work hard. But he was like, most people work hard in their job, but they don't work hard on their self. So it's kind of like the whole mindset of, if you work harder on yourself, you can make a fortune. If you work hard on your job, you make a living. If you want to make a living or a fortune. I heard that and I was like, of course I want to make a fortune. So I started working harder on myself. Like, I found a job at the time that didn't need or require much from me. So the job's 8 hours. I'm working half an hour for the day, 30 minutes, sending one email a day, and using the other 7 hours to work on myself, work on my personal development, work like doing research, like getting the business ready for launch and stuff like that. So for me, that was the most profound thing that I've probably like ever heard. Work harder on yourself than you do. A lot of people work hard.
Yeah.
A lot of people work hard, you know, they work hard in their job and they work long hours and this and that. But like you alluded to, it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. But my thing is as well, if you can work 8 hours a day, you know, helping someone else achieve their dreams, you can spend an hour working on yourself.
100%.
You know, and it was like, okay, you know, I want to be successful. And it kind of led on to, it was like, you start by, you work full time on your job and you work part time on yourself. That's how you start. You know, it kind of starts, obviously no one can fully
of course,
work on
yourself.
nurse yourself fully. So you said, you get up every day, you go to work to make a living, but then you work part time to start working on your fortune. So now when you get up in the morning, you're excited because you're working on yourself and your future and the endless possibilities that can come from investing in yourself. So, yeah,
that's profound. Jim Rohn's, everybody.
Jim Rohn. Check him out.
Check him out.
Cool. What I wanted to kind of move on, last thing for us today was every week, guys, we want to bring something that we've seen on social media. Everyone's on social media that has kind of inspired us or kind of motivated us that we want to share, that we feel, you know, you could benefit from hearing about and how you can maybe apply it to your own personal life. So, tell me one thing. Go in that phone that you saw this week, read, watched, listened to, that kind of inspired you to want to share and help people unplug from society norms.
No, 100%. It's a short one, but again, similarly, it's just sent raw shivers to me. And it says, we must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
I swear that's one of mine.
No, it's...
That's, do you know that's Jim Rohn?
Yeah. And for me, that was... even just that, I'm just goosebumps. It's like flipping, I was like, we must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And for me, it was just like, no matter what you do, it's painful.
Yeah.
So there's no easy way out. So if I'm going to endure pain anyway, I might as well discipline myself. Then as opposed to be, you know, I'm 78 years old and I'm speaking to my grandkids. Oh, yeah, that could have been me. Oh, yeah, I had all these businesses and I bought Bitcoin and sold it, or I like whatever, like just regretless and just absolute focus and absolute discipline. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. Some people are going to hate you. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be sexy, but it's going to be so, so sweet and so, so worth it. And then, just that for me, I was like, that was it for me. So like, that's my mantra right now.
Beautiful. Love
mantra.
That. Love that. Now, like I said, that's Jim Rohn. I've heard that one before, man. Very, very powerful. Like you said, you hear it and you're like, all right, cool. But I think ultimately, you got to be asking yourself, you know, are the things I'm doing going to help me to achieve the things that I want in life?
100%.
And if they're not, you kind of need to let them go, man. One of the things that I saw this week was from myself.
Oh, yeah? Little self-plug?
So, little self-plug here.
Shameless.
Shameless plug. But we do what we got to do. A good friend said to me, do what we got to do to get by, man.
Always.
So, I posted something on Twitter this week that I felt people would find, you know, quite beneficial if they kind of applied it to their life. So the tweet reads, "The most powerful habit you can adopt is learning how to focus in a world full of distractions." By John Patrick. Now, where I'm going with that is that there are distractions everywhere. Like every second, every minute, every hour of the day. And ultimately, distractions stop you from doing what you need to do, right? So I feel like one of the biggest habits, skills that you can develop is learning to switch off from the world.
Mm.
And one of the ways I've tried to do that recently is getting up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Mm.
Because at 5 o'clock, most people are sleeping.
Mm.
So it allows me just to kind of focus and do what I need to do. So I'm trying to develop that. It's not easy. None of this stuff we talk about is
exactly
easy,
that's the whole point of it.
But just learning how to stay focused in a world full of distractions. Like there's distractions everywhere. Phones going off. That person wants you to do that. Your missus is calling you. Your mom's calling you. You got to go and do that. You got to go and do that. And it's kind of like, it's a superpower. It's a superpower to learn. And again, it's like, you can only really learn something by like trying to do it consistently. So, that's one of my biggest biggest pushes this week is like, if you can try and, learn to focus when all others as well are like being distracted, then that's how you make progress.
That's
man.
deep. Yeah, that's so true though. That's so true, because this world puts so much things in front of us to distract us, to keep us occupied.
And also like keep us from being our best version. Being our best version of ourselves. So there we have it.
That's good. That's good.
Episode 1
concluded. So guys, hope you found this enjoyable. I hope you really took some things that resonated with yourself. Again, we're very, very open to feedback. So if there's any sort of topics that you want us to deliberate about, or even just sort of go over and talk about, so sort of let us know in the comment section, wherever you're watching this or this is clipped. And then guys, until next time.
To those on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. For those on Spotify, Apple Tunes,
save that.
Tell a friend, share. And just like on a serious note, we are here trying to kind of inspire and motivate and kind of just share some of the knowledge that we've kind of learned along the journey. So if you found it beneficial, definitely pass it on to your friends, your family members. Like we said at the beginning, this can be for anyone who wants to kind of just take their life up to the next level, take it up a notch.
That's it. That's it. All right, guys. Love.